What's happening, YouTube? Chop Celery here, and welcome to my antagonistic assassin archer build in Dragon Age Inquisition, specifically for nightmare difficulty. Now, in all honesty, this build came about just because I feel like a majority of players, when they're given the option for any of the rogue specializations, majority of people I think would go for assassin, but they would do like a dual dagger kind of setup. And especially because I had done the Apollo Archer build in Dragon Age Origins, I kind of just wanted to see if I could be an assassin and use a bow, and try to make best use of any of the synergies between the lines and really get some high damage output. So, in short, this build really just focuses on getting back into stealth, so that way we can always attack from stealth, gaining critical damage bonus to all of our attacks, which is really where our main DPS comes from. So without further ado, I'll go ahead and just review my skills first. I'll just tell you like why I picked up the ones that I did. I'll move over to just some of my attributes, and then kind of walk you through like what my percentages, or like what my critical hit damage bonuses, armor penetration, etc. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'll show you my equipment and explain why I chose the pieces that I did, even the crafted pieces that I have for my build. So let's just go ahead and do it. Alright, starting off with abilities, let's just go ahead and start off with the assassin tree. This is my specialization. I don't max out the tree, I don't think that's worth it, but I do pick up hidden blades, and the upgrade I have is overkill, so 3 additional hits, and you get minus 4 seconds on the cooldown. I pick up Throat Cutter just because you get a damage bonus for each 10% of missing health the enemy has, which I feel like that's good. I was never here. This is a great one, so every time that you kill an enemy, it's going to remove a cooldown on stealth, which is great. That's why we're trying to get back into stealth whenever we can. And then Knife in the Shadows. I feel like this is probably one of the most important passives out of this tree. So whenever you attack from stealth, you're automatically going to critical hit, which is why it's imperative that we're always going to try to get ourselves back into stealth. Now, Mark of Death, I've been messing around with this. I feel like you could almost take it or leave it, but for a large single target enemy, I definitely put this on first. I try to pump out as much damage as possible, and then within 8 seconds, it's going to deal 100% of the stored damage that it has absorbed onto the enemy. So I feel like it's a good single target type of ability to put on for like a boss, but other than that, I don't really use this in my general rotation, but I think it's worth it to pick it up. I don't put anything in the double daggers. For archery, though, I only go down the two separate trees, so I branch off. Death from Above, just maximum damage bonus of plus 25% when you're higher than your enemy. Leaping Shot, this is really my go-to for this rotation, and then the upgrade I chose was Shot from the Shadows. So every time that you use this, you're automatically going to be thrown back into stealth as long as you're not hit when you're leaping backwards. So it's a good way that we can not only deal damage, but also it's going to put us immediately back into stealth. Now for the other one, the other passive, I get First Blood. So we get a 15% damage bonus when they have at least 80% health or more. So it's a good opener. It's just going to help with us dealing more damage. Explosive Shot, I picked this up, and then the upgrade I chose was Chain Reaction. So it's going to do like an AoE around the target, and damage bonus per target is 25% for a maximum of another 100% bonus damage. Pretty good. Sabotage, I do pick up a couple points in this line. The only activated ability I pick up is Poison Weapons, and that is part of my rotation. And then for the upgrade I chose Infected Wounds. You just get plus 25% more damage. The next passive, Fighting Dirty, so you're going to get duration to your poison weapons. Which I think is good because it doesn't really, I know it's only 10 seconds, but you get an extra 25% on top of that. And then Explosive Toxin. So for 8 seconds when enemies die, I believe that when they die for 8 seconds, there's going to be like a toxic cloud that when enemies are within that radius, they're going to take 50% weapon damage per second. So I just figured that's a good thing to do because a lot of the times when I use Explosive Shot after I have on poison weapons, some enemies will die, and it further increases our damage output. Now for the Subterfuge line, we definitely pick up Stealth, and the upgrade I have is Lost in Shadows, so it doesn't, you're immediately going to get into Stealth as well as it can remove any debilitating effects on you. It's pretty good. I chose evasion, so we get a 10% chance to dodge and attack. I have evade, but I don't use it at all. I picked up evade so that way I could get to ambush. So when you're in stealth and shortly leaving after it, you're going to get a bonus of 50% more armor penetration, which is good. That's just going to be able to help us negate their armor rating, allowing us to do more damage. And then I choose Shadow Strike, and the upgrade I chose was Long Shadows. So now I can use this from a distance. I don't have to be in point blank range. In order to use this, as long as they're not targeting me, I gain 70 stamina restored. Especially when I'm in stealth, I feel like this really does hit like a truck. But that has been just my my abilities. I think it's pretty straightforward. I don't have anything too complex. But moving over to attributes, I've got 88 dexterity, 30 cunning. Dexterity, each point that you put into it increases your attack and critical damage bonus, so that's why we definitely focused more on dex compared to cunning. And cunning is going to increase your critical chance and range defense, both of which are pretty good, but since we're always going to be trying to get back into stealth, we don't need to worry about crit chance, because when we attack from it, we're always going to hit as a critical hit. Now, offensive, we have 60% attack. My armor penetration right now, without being in stealth, is 44%. So I wonder if it'll change for us. I hope it does. Oh, it doesn't. Okay. It should be 44% based off of my gear, but then with that passive, now it should be at 94%. My critical damage bonus, as you can see, it's really high. It's 212 damage. That's why I'm trying to emphasize, like, every time that we get into stealth, we're going to pull off massive numbers. That's why we need to get back into stealth. But we do have a minus 25% to our flanking damage bonus, and that's just coming from one of my pieces of gear. Now, in terms of, like, the defenses, you can just really, this is kind of just up to you. I'm more so going to focus on just the rotation and how we're going to pump out damage. But, all right. Now, in terms of my equipment, so let's go ahead weapon first. I crafted this great bow, or it's not a great bow. Jeez, I just crafted this bow. I believe it's from the Bow of Hakon. Right now, I have it at, I have the Master Corrupting Rune, so I get plus 32 damage towards the living. And then for the upgrades I chose on it, I got plus 24% armor penetration. And I also have plus 74% critical damage bonus on this. Now, I think I chose the Hakon bow just because of the upgrades on it. Like, I think it had like 2 slots for offensive, and they were both leather, which is, I think, how I was able to get the armor penetration and the critical damage bonus. And then I also put on there for my masterwork plus 10% chance, or I have a 10% chance to use hidden blades on a hit with 4 added hits. I just feel like that's going to proc a lot, just because a lot of our attacks have multiple hits in them. So hopefully we'll get a higher chance of getting more damage with that. Now for the armor, I crafted, I believe it's the Griffin Mail. It's just the chest piece that I crafted. I gave myself more dex, so more damage and critical hit damage. Plus 18% magic defense, plus 149 health. And then I gave myself the Sigil of the Great Bear for 100% mana and stamina, but I have minus 50% mana or stamina regeneration, which is why I have the ambush attack, or the, let me see if I can get to it, shadow strike, excuse me, with long shadows. So when I use this, I'll just immediately gain 70 stamina back, so I don't really have to worry about that. I don't really have to worry about that reduction in stamina regeneration. But for my helmet, I just crafted this as well. I just gave myself plus 4 cunning, plus 8 dex. So I just wanted to get a little bit more damage. Now, in terms of my accessories, I'm using Malika's Guard. I believe I found this in Crestwood. It just gives me plus 30% front defense. I get plus 20% attack, plus 10 dex at the cost of minus 50% flanking damage bonus. I just feel like the benefits really outweigh that minus 50% flanking damage bonus. Just because whenever we attack from stealth, it's always going to be a crit, and I don't really think we need to worry about the flanking damage bonus to help our damage output. For the belt, I have on Superb Belt of Health, plus 200% maximum health. I find that just because I'm not generating guard and I typically don't run in there with a barrier on, I am quite squishy. So I just wanted to give myself as much health as possible so that way I don't go down. My other 2 rings I have on the superb ring of armor penetration, so I get another 20% to armor penetration. So pair that with my bow, that's where I'm getting the 44%. And then I have on superb ring of critical damage, giving me plus 20% critical damage bonus. So that's another 20% towards my crit damage bonus. So that's why I have 212% critical hit damage bonus. And as of right now, without the stealth activated ability, I have 44% armor penetration. So that's really just been my build in short, in terms of the abilities, my attributes, and just seeing like what the stats I have, followed by my gear and accessories. So now I'm just going to go ahead and turn it over to the second half of the video so you can see it in straight up gameplay. I hope you enjoy, friends. All right, take care. Bye-bye.